CGC is in shambles. We can't trust slabs anymore. Scams and controversies are everywhere. And with all that in mind, today we're going to be talking about why I'm no longer buying slabs and really haven't been for a while. I won't say that I'm 100% cutting out slabs, but I've drastically cut back. I used to be, big slab man. I still have a bunch of slabs. I need to rearrange the wall and do all that. You've heard me talk about that before. But today, yeah, I haven't really been feeling it for a number of reasons. And this is going to go back before any controversy, all the reholder stuff and all that going on now. A lot of it doesn't even really have to do with that. But there are some recent things that have kind of solidified a feeling I've had for a little while and help make things a little bit better. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and get into the big thing, I think, is slabs are expensive. Getting things slabbed are expensive. There's a lot of comics you can go and buy, and if it's just a cover or whatever, you can get it relatively cheap. But overall, when you're in the comic collecting sphere, you're going to be spending a lot of money, more than likely, if you're actually collecting things. Some people are a lot more selective and better at controlling how much they're spending. I feel like most of us, though, we want a lot more than we can afford, and are trying to buy more than we can afford. So that being said, there's a lot of things like a while back, before my first eye surgery that I had to get, I was planning on getting every Jenny Frison poison ivy slabbed. I wanted that. Actually, I had a bunch of other poison ivy slabbed, or to be slabbed as well. I wanted a big slabbed poison ivy collection, and as cool as that sounds, at the time I had to put that on hold because, again, I had a surgery coming up and I need to have money for that and stuff like that. And I was like, I'll just do it later. But a lot of time has passed since then, and my mind has changed, and I've been looking to not spend as much money as I had been in certain areas. I do have medical things I need to pay for, but as well as just other things coming up that I am looking to put my money into, rather than, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be collecting comics and all that, but there's other things that are going to be costly that are coming up. Exciting things, not just boring. They're awful things like having to get a surgery and whatever. You don't want to spend money on that, but you got to do what you got to do. But I'm just trying to cut back cost in certain areas, and so getting to think about that is like, it's just a lot of money to get, especially like random books slabbed. Now, I will go ahead and come out the gate and say, I feel like, especially for me and certain people buying older comics, very valuable old comics, you might not have the eye for it. I can't say that I do. Some people may, but when I'm buying a big old key, let's say, for example, I'm looking to get an Avengers #1. I want to make sure, and this is putting reslabbing things aside for now, I do want to be kind of, guaranteed that the comic specifically that I'm buying isn't restored or, missing anything or something like that. And especially like color touches and other types of restoration that you might not realize, that are harder to see for people that aren't trained with that in mind. I think it makes a lot of sense for someone like that, someone like me, that's going after a bigger book like that, to go ahead and just buy it slabbed. I think buying a raw copy is a little sketchy, because it could have issues like that. It could have an issue such as grade disputes, where you buy it thinking it's, the person you're selling it, or that's selling it to you, is like, it's whatever around this grade, and then you get it and you kind of look at me, especially if you're buying online or whatever. If you're buying in person, it's a little bit different, you get to look at it. But if you're buying online, for example, and then you get it, and maybe you think it's not quite as high, and maybe it is the grade they said, and maybe you're looking at it wrong. But regardless, being able to buy a big book at the grade, and the price is kind of set at that point, both parties are going to be comfortable saying what grade it is. Now you might have a dispute on how much you think that book at that grade should be, valued at, but that, you have your numbers and either you buy it or you don't buy it, at that point. However, if you're buying a raw book, I feel like there is a bit, it could go in the other way too. It could go positive. Somebody could say this book's a 4.0 and you look at it and you're like, I really think that's a 5 or, 6 or something. And then, you buy it raw, get it graded, and it comes out, better, and you get a good deal. That kind of stuff happens too, but I'd rather just go ahead and be sure that I'm buying a 4.0 and I spent 4.0 money and I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? When you're buying those big books like that, a point of difference can be a lot of money. So for me, I do think buying big books is probably still the way to go, is getting them slabbed. For me personally, other people may have other opinions. Where I'm really changing and cutting back is getting things. So, like for example, those poison ivies. I've been getting kind of like this holder here. I got another one here. So these are the Ultra Pro cases. They're the big, magnetic, thick ones. Pretty heavy duty. I like these a lot. Very solid cases. The problem with them is that they're also kind of pricey. It's still cheaper than getting a book slabbed, but not by much. And so something I've been kind of holding back on those. I've got quite a few of them, but it's like I don't want to get that for all my poison ivies necessarily. And I like black cat books and whatever else. Now granted, the good news is something like that though. For example, because like getting books where you want to put them up on a wall, I feel like they should be up in some type of case. In case, stuff happens and then it falls over. These things get knocked off sometimes, or the glue gets loose, and especially with these weather conditions, the glue, some of them have been falling off the wall, and they've been protected. But that being said, I don't want to just put raw books up there. I want them in some kind of case. And with those, instead of slab, if you slab, you have to slab the comic, and each one has to keep getting slabbed. With these, you can swap the comics out, so there is that bonus. However, that's still like if I wanted to like replace my wall with a bunch of, which I probably wouldn't do all of them. I'm not gonna get rid of my slabs I already have. But there's other books I'd like to put up on the wall, and it's just like I didn't want to get them graded. I didn't want to spend all that money. I just want to show them off. I think they're cool. But so with that, I do think I like these cases, but I'm wanting to check out. I've seen a lot of people start putting the comic capsule cases out, and those are cheaper. They're about $10. I think these are like $17 a piece or something, the Ultra Pro. But the comic capsules are just like $10 a piece, which is significantly cheaper. And so that's something I'm definitely going to be checking into. I do know that they don't do silver size comics, which is a bit of a bummer. So that'll be something, because even with something, that if I'm going to put in a book, like, so for example, like I have these sketch covers done, which this one's still, this one's on a clear back and board. I know the back's white, so you can't really tell. Well, you can see the barcode back there. So, but it is still in a bag and board. I don't like to put comics in here without a bag and a board, and so it's in a silver, and it keeps it nice and firmly in there. Because I feel like if you put a comic in there, it's still gonna, if it rattles a little bit, it's gonna bang up the corners and stuff and make it ugly, and we don't want that. That's the whole point of putting them in cases, is we don't want that. So for me, I would rather wait until they start doing silvers. I know that they've had a lot of, I've been kind of keeping up with them and listened to them. They have had a lot of feedback that people want silver sized ones, and I think I'll just wait until then. And hopefully it'll fit in with the silver clear backer board and everything. But yeah, other than that, I mean, that looks pretty interesting to me. I haven't bought any yet, but that is probably the direction I will be going. I'm definitely very interested in checking them out, and from the reviews I've seen from people talking about them, they seem pretty cool. They don't seem as heavy duty as the Ultra Pro ones. Now, granted, I could be wrong, but I think they're good enough. It's one of those things, especially, when you're putting just cheap variants in it. It's not that big of a deal. But if you... Oh, and they fit in comic boxes, which I think is really interesting as well. But anyway, that being said, that's kind of where I'm sitting at with slabs. I'm just not... I haven't really... The last time I bought a slab was I bought a Predator #1 from Rob Fatstacks for C3. And, I wanted to buy something for C3. I got off work and the stream was kind of almost over. So I was just kind of waiting for something to show up that interested me. And so when the Predator #1 is a first print, I have a second print signed, or a third print, I can't remember. Second or third print signed, but I've been wanting a first print, and so when that came up, I was like, that's pretty sweet, I'll buy it, and it's for C3. So yeah, that's the last time I bought a slab, and since then, I probably before that it was me getting these two back. Well, I guess I bought Chris a slab for Christmas, the Jen Bartel America Chavez. So I guess if you count that, it wasn't for me, but yeah, I don't know. I just haven't really been looking at slabs lately myself, but I don't know. I'm curious to know, again, then with all the controversy stuff, I don't really get into that. I don't really care about a lot of it. Obviously what happened is terrible. You don't want any of that stuff happening in the community, but I'm not here to make a fuss about all of that. Just kind of using a little bit for some clickbait at the start to make it a little funny, but none of that, because all the stuff, really all the reasoning that has deterred me from slabs has been kind of ongoing for a while. I think it's just too costly for doing everything. I think buying big books in slabs is pretty smart, especially or also I said for purposes of restoration and stuff like that, but also if you're just not a good grader yourself, if you can't really tell the conditions of a book, I think just buying, especially, being able to tell if a book is a 9.8 maybe is kind of easier. The difference between a 2 and a 3 or 4, that can be a lot harder. And so when you're looking to buy some big low grade books, I think that's a lot smarter thing to do if you're not good at that type of stuff. But yeah, I'd love to know what you all think about this. Just kind of environment of slabs in general. I think, with the COVID boom, everybody was slabbing everything, but, also very different time. Every book was worth $1 million then, everything was going to get you rich. But now, and not to say that was the reason I wanted a bunch of my books slabbed. Again, I like to present them slabbed, but I'm finding that there's better alternatives for presentation purposes for comics that are a lot more affordable. I still like slabs. I will still buy slabs in the future, but I'm going to be much more selective moving forward. And especially, I think, I don't want to say I'm in a bad spot financially. Again, I have things that are definitely, interfering with as much money as I'd like to spend on collecting and stuff. But I think I would say that overall, I've noticed there, the economy is not great. People are not having as much money to freely spend. And so we got to be creative on how we, are spending our money. And so yeah, I'd like to know what you all think about this. I've said that probably 3 or 4 times now, so I'm going to end the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.